this whole, I guess, self-development journey is not something that I can do by myself. You can only go so far, right? And so I got myself a coach.
Want a business in the city? Come to the Wave Show. No time a big Willie? Come to the Wave Show. You got a message for the people? Come to the Wave Show. You could be black, white, red, blue. Come to the Wave Show. It's all love. We want to meet you. Come to the Wave Show. Come to the Wave Show. Come to the Wave Show.
So, hello, my name is Jamal Smith, and I want to welcome you guys back to the Wave Show. And I want to do a huge shout out to our new viewers. Thank you guys for tuning in. And when you get a chance, don't forget to hit the sub button because we got really cool people coming in, just like the person we have today. And we have a life coach, you guys. So we got a life coach that's going to be able to teach us some things about the life coaching industry. And her name is Jenna.
Yes, it is.
Nice. Jenna. Make some noise for Jenna. All right, the real Jenna. All right. So what I want to do, Jenna, is on the Wave Show, we like to give our viewers a perspective. You know, we want to kind of paint a picture and a story. And we always like to start off with, you telling us a little bit about yourself. So I want to ask you, what's your background? Where are you from?
Okay. So that's actually like a double question. My background, as in where I was born, what do I do?
Fair enough.
What are you asking?
Fair enough. We'll stick to what's your background. Tell us a little about where you're from.
Oh, so where was I born?
Okay.
I'm kidding. Okay.
We're going to have to cut that out.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it's me. But yeah, so
where am I from? I was born in Trinidad and migrated to Canada, I believe, when I was like 10 years old.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, and you said you migrated from where, sorry?
Trinidad.
From Trinidad. So that whole transition from Trinidad to here, do you remember what it was like?
It was interesting, to say the least.
Right.
Yes,
I know there's something called culture shock, right? Did you exhibit any of that?
Did I? Yes and no. I'm going to say no because when we came to Canada, we didn't go to school right away. We were almost in hiding. Don't judge us. For like a year. So we had that time to like kind of ease into the whole Canadian culture, if that's even a thing. So.
I hear that, right? And most people kind of jump right into it. And I can kind of see that creating the culture shock. For you, it was just like, we're going to take our time. Let's get to know the system a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's huge. So the other question I want to ask you is, I know that you're a life coach, right? So is that something you always knew, or did you kind of just fall into the role?
Is this something I always knew, or did I fall into? I exhibited qualities of a life coach, not knowing that that was the label behind, I guess, the qualities that I exhibited. I went to school for nursing, so I am a nurse, and I also teach nurses and PSWs.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm a whole mom. So I think I'd say that all of that with like previous life experience kind of shaped the whole life coaching thing for me, if that makes sense.
It does. And I love the idea that you share that you're a mom, right? Because a lot of people use that as an excuse. I can't do this because I'm a mom. I can't work with this because I'm a mom. Yeah. But here you are using it as leverage, right? And I want to ask you also, like, what are some of the qualities that you were exhibiting when you didn't know that, it was life skill quality or life coaching quality?
So one of the things I always did is I always changed a person's perspective. So whenever someone would come to me with a problem, I would kind of switch the perspective. I have a gift, I guess, of just being present. And also people tend to open up to me, just random strangers would open up to me and tell me things that they don't usually tell other people. So I guess I have a safe spirit.
Yeah. A welcoming one at that, right?
Yes.
Because you're not going to really open up to somebody if there's no connection, right?
That's right.
And for you, you're saying your niche was having that natural gift to create that connection.
Yes.
That's huge. I love that. So even for you, like, how was it? How did you end up in the field? How did you get in the field?
Do you want the truth, or do you want me to tell you what sounds good?
We'll take both.
Okay. So the truth is, I had a horrible breakup.
Okay.
And in that breakup, I had to, I guess that it was just that, like, a lot of people talk about that moment on the bathroom floor. So it wasn't literally a bathroom floor for me, but that moment on the bathroom floor was after that breakup. I really had to sit down and think about, like, okay, what is going on? Why am I continuing in this cycle?
Right.
Like, what is the common denominator? And then I realized that it was me.
Wow.
Yeah, that
So
was
you weren't so much blaming everybody.
no. Well, I used to at first.
Nice.
But in
Okay.
that specific after that breakup, I was
Yeah.
like, why does this keep happening?
Right.
Right? So I realized, well, something is the same in all of this, right? And it's me. So at that point, I started to like look inside.
Yeah.
And started to do a lot of self-help stuff and continue to grow, myself and develop and learn more about myself and learn more about other people and realize that, you know what, this whole, I guess, self-development journey is not something that I can do by myself. You can only go so far, right? And so I got myself a coach.
So what was that self-development journey like? Because there's some viewers that are going to be watching and they're like, self-development journey, right? They're not going to know the whole nine, but if you can kind of slow it down for people and let them know, what was it like being in turmoil and then getting out of turmoil?
Okay, so being in turmoil, I mean, it's rough. It's rough. I guess I was at that point in my life where I'm like, do I want to continue doing things the way I've been doing it? Or do I want to change?
Right.
And if I want to change, I had to ask myself hard questions.
Yeah.
I had to acknowledge where I was, I guess, wrong, for lack of better words, in the whole situation. I had to come to the realization that if I want to change, then I had to be willing to do hard things. I had to be uncomfortable. I can no longer, sit in my comfort. I had to step out of that. And that, I think, was the most challenging part, because even when you take one step forward and in that discomfort, it's so much easier to retreat. It's so much easier to pull back and be like, nah, that doesn't feel good. I don't like that.
One of my mentors says it's called the path of least resistance.
Yes.
Right? It's so much easier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just go back. It's okay. You were fine. Everything was fine. Your bills were paid. Your kids are great.
Right?
Yeah, but you are like dying inside. You're in shambles, right?
Yes.
And that wasn't the life I wanted for myself.
Nice.
So.
I love that, right? Because it takes a lot of work, right? It's not something you can just wake up and do, right?
Yes.
And that's what kind of, you getting out of that and going through that self-help process, that's what kind of motivated you to kind of go into the field.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. And being in the field now, right? And I guess you kind of answered it earlier, but if you can kind of dive deeper into it, just so we can even teach some viewers that want to learn this skill and the skill of building rapport, right? What does that look like?
Building rapport. You know what? It's simple, but it's not easy. Building rapport with people is just really sitting and talking.
Nice.
And listening and just being yourself.
So it's not so much talking, it's more listening.
I think it's a balance.
Okay, nice.
Because you have to know what to say and when to say it.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, it's a bit of a balance.
And you were saying about being yourself also?
Yes, you have to be yourself, because people can tell when you're fake.
Yeah, miles away.
People can tell when you're fake. And I'm going to throw this in there as well.
Yeah.
My specialty is people that have been through past childhood trauma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you find that being a specialty?
Well, because I've been there, one, so I can relate.
Right.
And two, people that have been through childhood trauma, they see things differently. They deal with things differently.
Elaborate on that.
Okay. So, for example, a person that has been through childhood trauma is extremely sensitive. So they'll come into this room, and we will all be in this room, and they can tell right away who's for them and who's not.
Interesting.
Right away.
But but is that a lot of the sensitivity, or is it a real factual thing, like that person's not for me, that person's not for me?
I think, okay, so let me step back a little bit. I think a lot of the times we tend to say, you have to know who's for you and who's not for you, right? But with a person that has been through childhood trauma, you don't have to say anything. They just know. Like they
Really?
are able to, it's really hard to explain. They're able to like really feel that energy. They can sense it. They know if you're authentic, if what you're saying is, if you're being genuine,
Mm-hmm.
if you're, you know, just wanting something from them. They can tell.
Yeah.
They can tell. Like
You
they
can
can
see
tell.
if, and even that's huge because
Mhm.
you would think it would be the total opposite,
Yeah,
right?
it's
You
not.
would think it's a shutdown, right? They're not interested, but
Mhm.
the reality is it's like that childhood trust, right? A
Mhm.
kid will trust you till thy kingdom come,
Yeah,
but once you break that
that's it.
trust, they
It's a
don't
wrap.
even look at you,
It's a
right?
wrap.
So, and even more along the lines of building rapport,
Mhm.
right? What are some other skills that you can kind of give our viewers around building rapport for people, with people, sorry?
So be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to listen, and don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. Know you have to know what to say and when to say it and how to say it. Even you have to know the person that you're interacting with as well. Because again, if it's somebody that has been through trauma,
Yeah.
you definitely have to know how to interact with them, because your interaction with them can make or break that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Read. Reading. Yes. Like educate yourself.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the reading portion.
Educate
I don't want you to
yourself.
jump ahead
I won't. Okay.
because I know that we're on the same page when it comes to reading. But I want to tap more into that communicating with people,
Mm-hmm.
because even what they say, communication is
Mm-hmm.
only like 7%,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's mostly body language,
Mm-hmm.
tonality,
Mm-hmm.
and face expression.
Yes.
Now you can Google how it's broken down,
Yes.
right? But for the most part, people think it's the vocal part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not so much the vocal part.
Okay.
So when we look at the how to and the what to say,
Mm-hmm.
right, what are some different things that you can kind of educate people on, like in terms of how to say something to someone effectively,
Mm-hmm.
and what to say? Like what are some
Okay.
different skills and strategies you use around that?
So this is where it becomes challenging, because it depends on who you're talking to.
Right.
I can say certain things I can say to person A that I could never say to person B.
Right.
Right? Or I shouldn't say that. I can say the same things, but I can't say it the same way.
Nice. I
Right?
like that clarity.
Even like you said with body language. So I'm going to use being a nurse, because I coach a lot as a nurse. I have my specialty at this point is mental health. So I have a patient that is, let's say, one that has personality disorder and another one that has depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm teaching both of them a new skill in what to do when you're in a crisis.
Right.
The person with the personality disorder, if I go into them and I'm like, okay, so you know what? When you were in distress, that person's gonna be like, who are you talking to? Because they have like that energy, right? So you have to bring that energy.
You got to meet them where they're at.
Yes. And whereas the person with depression, I can't go in there hyper. They're gonna be like, ma'am, get out of my room.
Interesting.
Get out. Right? So I go in and I'm more meek, I'm more calmer. I'm saying the same thing, I'm just saying it in a different way. The delivery is different.
And it's like the one thing words are like an instrument, right? You can strike different chords depending on what you say.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I think really how you say it,
Yes.
right, is probably a big thing, because the words will come.
Yeah.
The words will come, right? And even looking at the right wording, when you're sitting down with people, right, how do you find the right words to do an assessment? And even so, just to kind of make the question more clear, like what's your assessment process like when you're sitting down with people?
I start off by telling you a little bit about me. I tell you the process. This is what we're going to do. There's no right or wrong answer. You just tell me what you want to tell me. What you don't feel comfortable telling me, don't tell me. And that's okay. We'll get to that part.
Yeah.
And then I just load them with questions. And I'm not the type of person. Naturally, I'm an introvert. I know you can't tell, but I really am an introvert.
It's hiding somewhere.
You know what? Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you know what being an introvert means?
Well, from what society's teaching us,
yes,
right? They're saying that pretty much it's someone who doesn't talk a lot. They're to themselves. They're a lot more sheltered. Is that along the right lines?
No.
Wow.
An introvert is someone that gets their energy, recharges alone.
Wow.
When they're with people, they get depleted.
That's
powerful. An introvert.
That is very powerful.
Thank me later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we think that like someone who's isolated And sometimes it's mistaken as they're
Yes.
bright, they're bold,
Mhm.
they're bossy. But the
Yeah.
reality is, when you see someone come into a room, they don't say hi.
Mhm.
A lot of it could be anxiety.
Yes.
It could be shyness.
Yes.
Right. So there's a huge misconception again with the body language.
Yes.
Right. So you said you'd like to tell people about yourself when you're
Mhm.
doing the assessment piece.
Yes.
Why do you like to tell them about yourself, and how have you seen that be impactful?
Because if I'm sitting down with a complete stranger,
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, given my past, I don't trust you.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who you are, what you say you've done, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
So I will feel more comfortable if I know a little bit more about you. It
Right.
helps me to open up more. Who am I talking to? Have you been through what I've been through? Are you able to relate? Am I going to say something and you're going to judge me?
These are key.
Right? So I try to tell them, and this is where I was going with it. I try to tell them a bit about me, and I don't like small talk. Introverts do not like small talk.
No.
We do not know how to do small talk. We don't. Well, at least I don't. I don't know how to do the whole small talk thing.
Why is what's the
We're just deep. Yeah,
we don't
just
have time
deep.
for small talk.
because we don't have a lot of energy to give to you.
I like
so
that.
we have to go deep, and we have to go deep fast.
So it's almost like you're selectively giving your energy to someone.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Not so much
Yes.
talking, it's the
Yes.
the transfer of energy.
That's correct.
And I think you should kind of be selective with that, right? Because some people will drain you.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst part is on purpose. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge nugget. And I guess through the assessment piece, you kind of get a chance to really feel who you're sitting with and what you can offer them in terms of services,
Yes.
right? So what I want to ask next is how do you help people stay motivated and stay focused?
Wow. Okay, that's a big question. Honestly, the reality is I can't help you do anything you don't want to do.
Okay, I love that answer.
I can't.
I love that answer.
Okay, first of all, I don't even know if you're gonna. Maybe I should hold back on that just in case you ask that question.
Okay.
But, I can give you the tools. If you are choosing not to use it, there's nothing I can do about it.
Or if you're choosing to use the wrong tools.
There you go, right?
Right.
Or use it incorrectly. I can't do anything about that, right? If you are coming to a coach, you have to. I would suggest that you have tried other things. Don't just say, "I want to change. I'm going to get a coach." That's not a good idea. It's not, because number one, coaching is expensive. It is very expensive, and it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of doing things that you're not comfortable doing. And it's a lot of somebody telling you, this is what you should do. This is what you got to do. It's not like counseling where I'm like, well, what do you think you should do? No, that's not what you're paying me for.
Right.
You're paying me to be real with you.
So ultimately, there's not a real true way to keep people motivated. Maybe focused, right?
Yes.
Maybe, but not so much more, because that has to somehow come from
Has to
within.
come from within. And
right?
the other thing about motivation is, it's I guess a misconception that you have to be motivated to do something. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You
It's
do
true.
it and then you get motivated.
It's true, because when your child's crying at 3 a.m. in the morning,
Who
right?
is motivated to wake up with somebody's
Nobody.
child? No, sir, come get your child.
Right? But again, the discipline has to kick in, right?
Yes.
Now it has to be like, okay, I know I don't want to do it, right? The longer I don't do it, chances are the worse it's going to get.
Exactly.
Let me just deal with it from now.
That's it.
That's a big point. And even the reason why I love your answer along that is because we had a author on the show, and she talked about that when she was writing her book. She had to get a coach, and through the coach process, she openly said, like, once the coach was gone, there was just me by myself.
Yes.
And the coach is not going to do the legwork for you, right? You still somehow have to get up in the morning, get out of bed, and actually put some type of practice into play.
That's it.
Right. So and I guess this is kind of like a backwards question, but what is the biggest challenge with keeping people motivated?
Their mindset.
I love that.
I think a lot of people.
Good answer. It's huge.
We're in a society where you wake up one morning and somebody's video has gone viral.
Yeah.
And so we think that if we want $1,000, we're just going to wake up, put a product online, and $1,000 should come.
Yeah.
And that's not realistic.
No.
I mean, it happens for some people. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but it's not realistic. People don't want to put in the work, right? So we have this mindset of, I'm just going to get this coach, and she's going to give me some tools, and then 2 weeks later, everything is going to be perfect. No, I've been on my journey for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
And there are things that I'm still struggling with from 2 years ago. Things that I still revert back to, and I'm like, come on, get your whole life, man. But what happens is if I revert back this month, I won't revert back until next month. And then as I keep going, it takes 2 months to revert back. It takes till it's no longer there.
And it kind of
right?
kind of compounds over time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a big point because yeah, that motivation key there's a big misunderstanding around that. And the truth is, yeah, I agree with you. Somebody has to be there to, yes, be that encouragement. But again, I got to go back to it. You have to do the legwork.
Yes.
Now, what I want to ask you next now is around, being in that mode of coaching, right? Do you think it's like an all-time thing, or do you kind of have to shut it off? Not everybody wants to be coached. What's that like?
And that's my struggle. Not everybody wants to be coached,
Yeah.
but because it's just something that I've always naturally done, I just gravitate to it. So one thing I've learned about men is that men are problem solvers.
Okay. Thank you.
In a sense where, whatever.
Thank you.
In a sense
We
where
needed that, okay?
it's the truth. Us as
needed it.
women, we can sit down and talk about our problems all day long and come up with no solution, and we're fine.
Wow.
But if you go to a man and you tell your man or a man your problem, the first thing he's going to do is try to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
He's not just going to sit and listen. He doesn't have time for that.
Yeah.
That's just how they're built. I'm not saying every man, most men.
Yeah, she said it, not me. She said it, okay? Not saying I believe her or not, right?
Are you
but
saying, am I wrong?
You're going somewhere is what I'm saying. I can't say that, you crazy. This whole show would get shut down.
But it's the truth. Men are problem solvers.
Yeah.
And so...
It's true.
And so for me, if you're coming to me with a problem, I want to solve that problem.
Yeah.
That's just something that I naturally have.
That's good.
I'm not a man, but there are some things that I see in men that I see in me in a sense where it has helped me in this life coaching thing.
And that's possible, right? Because again, people think masculinity is a gender, right? It's not so much a gender, it's rather an energy, right?
Yes.
And again, going back to yin and yang, you got to have a fine balance.
That's right.
Right? And your balance may be different, right? Your masculinity may be different, but it's still masculine energy.
Yes.
So that's a big point. So how did you find it within yourself to still coach even when you're having a bad day?
Again, it's a whole mindset.
Yeah.
Right? For me, if I'm having a bad day, I have to coach. Because then what I'm doing is I'm taking my mind off of what I think is this huge problem, which is never a huge problem.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, honestly, it's never a huge problem. It's just perspective.
Right.
I'm taking my mind off of myself and I'm putting it on someone else. And so I'm no longer thinking about what's going on with me.
Yeah.
And just that ability to help someone, just someone saying, oh my gosh, I never even looked at it like that. That's awesome. Gives me joy.
Yeah.
So I can keep going.
And I guess that's what recharges you, right? And we had a hairdresser come on here, and she was talking about that. Like every time she would do someone's hair, like that feeling of like they're happy, they're walking out feeling more beautiful. Like that was refreshing for her. And again, that's something similar to what you're experiencing. And what's huge is different industry,
That's right.
but the same fefeeling and again the same results.
Part of a servant.
Now going back to that mindset piece, because I think that's huge, right? People, there's an old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
That's
right?
a lie.
It's a lie, but again, people believe it. And that, again, is what holds them back, right? What are some different ways or different things people can do to kind of shift their mindset, shift that mentality, so they can go out and now make the changes that they actually want?
First of all, you have to decide that you want to change. Because if you haven't decided that you want to change, then you're not going to change.
Facts.
And how do you make that decision? You stand in the mirror and you say, I want to change.
Not easy.
So difficult. That's it. You stand in the mirror and say, I want to change. I choose to change. I am going to change. However, whatever variation of that you use, you just make the declaration, you are going to change. Then you find out what you want to change.
Yeah.
So you do your own self-assessment. Okay. Do I want to change the way I dress? Do I want to change the way I eat? Do I want to change the way I speak? Do I want to change the way whatever it is? And then you look for different resources. YouTube is like, go on YouTube, You read books. I mean, we're going back to reading books. So I'm like a nerd. I love to read.
It's a sign, don't worry.
You speak to people, educate yourself on what you want to change, and find little things that you can do. There are things that you can start doing now. So, for example, if you want to start drinking water because you don't drink water, and you're like, I want to change, I'm going to start drinking water. Great. You start off with 4 ounces a day. It's a start.
It's not a lot.
No, but it's a start. Yes. And build from there. Don't go and say, well, I'm going to drink 2 gallons today. Okay.
No, you're right, because that feeling of when you do it the first time, it's like, whoa, I actually did it.
Yes.
Right? And now it makes it more believable for you to do it again.
That's right.
And one thing my mentor, he teaches me is if you can do it once, you can always do it again.
That's it.
And now I kind of want to transition, right? Because you're giving us a lot. Like trust me, this is really good content, and the people that are watching, they're going to be able to have a lot of takeaways. Okay. Now, for someone that's looking at you and like, wow, you know, she's inspiring me, or even like, you know, even before seeing this interview, I've always thought about going in the life coach direction. You know, what does one have to do to become a life coach? And what's that step-by-step process look like? Okay.
So there are a lot of, so there's the education. But honestly, you don't need a certificate. I am certified, but you don't need a certificate to become a life coach. That's the reality. However, you do have to, how do I say this nicely? If you are not investing in yourself, no one's going to invest in you. And no one should invest in you. That's the bottom line. So if you are not willing to spend the $3,000, $4,000, life coaching can go up to like 30, 40, 50 grand. It can. Trust me.
All in personal investments.
Yes. If you are not investing in you, you can't expect anybody else to invest in you. Right? Do the homework of studying what lights you up. Because life coaching is broad. Like you can be a life coach and focus on so many different things. Don't try to be an all-encompassing, and I know I say that, but I kind of do that, but I don't know how to say that without sounding like a hypocrite. But try to niche down. That's it, right? Like honestly, try to find something that you are passionate about and let that be your focus. Because if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to want to continue doing it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It's true.
You're not going to put in the work. You're not going to stay up, you know, and I'm not suggesting anybody stays up any hours of the morning working on their craft. That's foolishness. Don't do that nonsense. Your health comes first. Don't do it. But you're not gonna put in the energy. You're not gonna put in the effort. You're not gonna go the extra mile to make sure that what you're doing stands out from everybody else. Don't go into it for money. Trust me. Don't do it.
I love that. Now, even looking at that step-by-step process, like if someone's, as soon as they finish watching this, and what's the first thing someone should do if they want to go in that direction? Should they call? Who should they call? How do they? What paperwork should they sign? Should they go to what school? How does that work?
I did mine through. That's a good question. Become a health coach institute. I think I did mine, but there are so many different places that you can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it is generally a 6-month course. I would honestly say Google and read the reviews. A lot of the places that offer the life coaching or even health coaching courses, they have like, I want to say open house. It's not called open houses, but it's like an open house where you can kind of get a feel of what they offer, see what works for you. But first, I want you to really figure out what you are passionate about. Because it's okay to go to school to be a life coach. But if you realize that I'm not really passionate about anything that I can use life coaching for, then you would have just wasted your investment.
And I could see that, right? Yeah. Now, so even just to kind of slow it down for our viewers, right? You're saying it's a 6-month course.
Yes.
Right? And is it a college that offers it, or is it people in our local communities that offer it?
I did it online through an American company.
Okay.
And they were certified by the, oh goodness, so the name escapes me now, forgive me. But it's a board that certifies life coaches.
We should be able to find that.
Yeah,
right?
I can't. It's in the U.S.
Yeah.
The name escapes me. Please forgive me.
No worries.
But yeah, that's who I did it through that company. And then when I was finished with that, I continued to do coaching. Continue to do coaching. Continue to do coaching.
And if people don't want to go through it the way that you did it,
Mm-hmm.
what are some other ways that they
So
can do
you
that?
don't want to go through school. Well, then you're going to have to teach yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, read books. Again, go online. See what a coaching session looks like. See what it sounds like. See what it feels like. Coach your family. Coach your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Coach yourself.
Probably the first person.
Coach yourself. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Definitely coaching. If you can't coach yourself, you can't coach anybody else.
Well, like you said, looking in the mirror, right? Yes. It's easy to go to a mirror. I mean, but to actually look in the mirror and look at the person and actually really break down what makes you and what you want out of life. So, Jenna, here's the next question I want to ask you. So, when we look at the field of coaching and we look at the market that's out there for coaching, right? How much of a need is there right now to have somebody in that field?
It's like asking how many morticians do we need? Like, I mean, as long as, I know it's kind of morbid, but as long as there are people that are alive and people that are wanting to change, you're always going to need a coach. And remember, a coach that coaches people that have been through post-trauma is different from a coach that coaches a mom with 3 children or a single mom or couples or, a spiritual coach. Like there's always going to be a need for coaching. Always.
I like that, because even if you look at some of the greats, right? Even if we look at sports, Kobe, LeBron, these people have all had coaches, right? One that would help them with shooting, each different area of their skill.
That's true.
So I love the point that you made. So I know we talked a lot about books. We've been itching to get into books. So tell us, what are some books, some good books you're reading or you've read?
Oh my gosh. Book nerd. Okay, so one of the books, some of the books I can say that I've read a lot of books. My ultimate go-to book is honestly the Bible. That's my ultimate go-to book. Apart from the Bible, I'm looking at 12-week year. Phenomenal book. Redefining Wealth for Yourself by Patrice C. Washington. Real Money Answers, again, Patrice C. Washington. The Exponential Life. Depression, The Way Out. The Body Keeps the Score. Atomic Habits.
That's my favorite.
Which one?
Atomic Habits. It's a cheat code, man.
Yeah.
A really good book.
Man, books. Just go to chapters, go online, type in self-help, how to un-F yourself. They use the word, I don't swear. Oh my gosh, names are escaping me right now, but I literally have a room filled with books.
So you have your own library?
Oh yeah.
That's good, and that's necessary, because I was reading a book called What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself by Dr. Shad Halmstead. And boy, that's a powerful book. And one of the things he said is like people's thoughts are like a furniture. Like if you go into an apartment, right, and you've had furniture, that same sofa, the same chair, same fridge, it's been there for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to change the furniture.
Yes.
So our thinking is a lot like that.
Yeah.
We got to change our thinking.
Yes.
And it has to be constant, right? Because then you get stuck.
That's right.
Right? And the one thing about a book is it saves you, some time of making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You get to learn from other people's experiences.
Yes.
But what are some other values? 'Cause I know we talked about changing the mindset, but what are some other values that you see in books?
Growth. Definitely growth. Again, like you just mentioned, changing the mindset. I think that's the biggest thing, because once you change your mindset, nothing is impossible. You just have to change your mindset. Like it gives you reading books give you a different perspective. It takes you out of your own head. It helps you to see that, hey, I'm actually not weird for thinking like this. Other people think like this, right? It helps you to say, okay, so this person used to think like this, but now they're thinking like this. It's like it gives you steps and tools to move forward.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's huge, because that's the things that we're trying to give our viewers, right? We want to give them a part of you, and especially the parts that, like we talked about, being in turmoil and growing. That growth phase is priceless. Now, I know tons of people are going to be tuning in. I know they're going to want to know a little bit about you. Where can they find you?
Oh, okay. I'll actually Okay, you can find me on YouTube at mendedbythemaker.com. You can find me on Instagram at mendedbythemaker and on Facebook at Jenna Duncan.
Huge.
And the website is www.mendedbythemaker.com.
I love that. Jenna, please continue the work you're doing. And, you know, the community needs it, people need it. And like the question we asked today, I think people need it more now than ever. Right? And I want to do a huge shout out to our viewers. You know, thank you guys for tuning in. You know, we appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And please remember, stay wavy.
Come to the Wave Show. Come to the Wave Show.